Hey, here we go. Check this out.
This is Whole Nother Level with Dwayne Lindo.
You know, frankly, I feel that we shouldn't even be talking about this. Simple as that.
The great L. Bushman.
They'd have to make so many adjustments, but I don't know what they have to do. They need a miracle. They need a miracle.
Frank Mazzei.
Did they win the offseason in free agency? Yes. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Craig Cousins.
How can you not put Tom Brady number one on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks? Man, this guy's a legend. Rings speak.
And Eric Wilson.
I didn't know Eric was going to let you talk.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. I've seen enough Facebook posts to know that you're not a Giants fan. Let's go. And welcome everyone to another edition of Whole Nother Level right here at Co-Work, Florida. Beautiful downtown Lakewood Ranch. This is Whole Nother Level, and we are back in the studio. I got my man Frank, the factual Frank Mazzei, in the building. What's going on, baby? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. And we got the great L. Bushman in the building with us. This man's been smiling since Sunday when he left old school. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I know he's happy right now, but no one right now is as happy as I am, probably except for Stephen A. Smith, because it is a great day in the world of football. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. Cowboys, y'all are done. I'm so sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Y'all are out. Hasn't won a playoff game since a couple years ago in Detroit, which I don't even consider that a playoff win, but whatever. Y'all lost 13-3. Number one in the entire NFL, had the best offensive line, rookie quarterback, rookie running back, and what does that amount to? Nothing.
Especially when you play Aaron Rodgers.
Wow.
Relax.
And we will get to that
discount double check
just in a few moments. But, ladies and gentlemen, Whole Nother Level, we're going to start the show off today a little differently. We're actually going to talk a little bit about UFC. Now, I know people are saying, what, UFC? There was actually a UFC fight going on. Yes, there was. May not have been that big of a deal. However, there was a significant match that happened, and our man Zach Davis, our UFC expert, is going to chime in. Him and Frank are going to go toe-to-toe here in just a second to talk about Billy Penn. Now, here is a guy who, from what I understand, was well known in UFC.
It's actually known as BJ Penn.
Yeah. Oh, BJ Penn.
Nobody calls him Billy except his mama.
All right, well, you know.
BJ's a legend in the sport. I mean, he's been around for forever, and he was one of the first two division champions. I mean, he's one of the very few that has been a champion in two different divisions.
Okay.
So he was kind of like Conor McGregor before, you know, even though not without the trash talking, basically. But his reputation throughout MMA is, I mean, he's fought everything from 145 up to 205.
Oh, wow.
I mean, so throughout his career, he's been, you know, up and down, you could say.
He's had a lot of legendary fights, too, while he's been fighting, too.
Yeah.
So.
All right. And joining us live here on Whole Nother Level, it is our UFC expert, Mr. Zach Davis. Zach, we thank you for chiming in, my brother. We were just talking about BJ Penn. So I'm going to let you and Frank take the floor to talk about this.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Thanks for having me. Frank, what's going on?
Hey, not much. How you doing, Zach?
Good.
What did you think of the Yair Rodriguez BJ Penn fight?
Zach, you there?
All
right.
I think that is exactly the way I thought it was going to go. Go ahead.
I think there might be a delay with him, or unless he started drinking already at Linksters.
Zach, if you're listening to us, you got to turn Spreaker off and just be on your phone so you can hear us, my brother.
Okay, I'm not on speaker. Are you guys good now?
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I called it. So my guess was first round knockout by Yair. I was a little bit off. It was second round. One thing that I will tell you guys is fighters don't age well, and that fight was was a perfect example.
Yeah.
Yair is just such a dynamic striker. He showed us a few different things that a lot of fighters we haven't seen from a lot of fighters. He's gonna be fighting for a belt soon.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he throws Taekwondo kicks and Muay Thai kicks. I mean, and he just look. I like BJ Penn just from seeing him over the years. That was kind of hard to watch because, you know, he has gotten old, but he came in. He looked like he was in shape. He went to Greg Jackson's to train for this, but MMA is ever evolving, and BJ basically he's a boxer and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's pretty much it. And the game is basically, you saw it. I mean, Yair Rodriguez represents, you know, you could say old school versus new school versus old school, and that's pretty much what I think happened to BJ, because it was hard to watch him take that beat down. And the last time he was in the octagon, I believe, was it Nick Diaz that just beat the snot out of him a couple years ago? I mean, I hope he's done.
Yeah, I hope so too. And it's so hard because these guys fighting is their lives. But I think the theme of the last couple of years has just been new school versus old school. And we're seeing it time and time again, these top fighters dropping off the map who once had the belt. A lot of them are these Brazilian fighters on the men's side, guys like Jose Aldo, guys like, who am I thinking of? Anderson Silva,
Junior Dos Santos.
You know, Renan Barão. There's just to name a few. Junior Dos Santos. But then on the women's end, you got ladies like Juliana Pena, and obviously Ronda just lost to Amanda Nunes. So, I'm excited to kind of see where the sport's going. We're seeing more dynamic strikers like Yair Rodriguez and like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, so I like the direction it's going.
Speaking of where the sport is going, Zach, I want to pick your brain about Dana White officially giving an offer to Floyd Mayweather about $25 million plus incentives to what they're going to make off the pay-per-view fight if it ever happens between Conor McGregor. Now, do you think will this fight ever happen? Because I know Floyd looks like he's kind of dodging this, like he's saying every time Dana offers him something, he's kind of just laughing at it, like, "Oh, you can do better than this." But $25 million as a first offer plus what you're going to get off the top end off of the pay-per-view fights. Do you think this fight is ever going to happen?
I think there's been too many insults that have gone back and forth for that fight to ever happen between Dana and Floyd. I think the last exchange was Floyd made a comment that Dana White used to carry his bag.
Yep.
And I don't see that going over well. And the fact is, I think they're just both poking at each other. I don't see that happening in the future.
I think Floyd's probably.
Too much pride on either side.
Floyd's probably just scared because he can't read the contract. So. I think that's one of the main reasons why he's ducking out, because he'd have to read what he's signing.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why he hired 50 Cent.
Hey, I wouldn't want him to manage my money either. He filed for bankruptcy about a year ago. But looking at this fight, this could be the ultimate pay-per-view fight, though. I mean, you got the two different sports coming in as a boxing match, and what from Dana was saying is, Conor's pretty good at boxing, despite what people think of him, because he's known as a striker with his legs. He's a grapple guy, but I mean, I think everybody's clamoring to maybe see this fight, even though Floyd may be kind of over the hill at this point with his age and everything. But I think for the sport of MMA, and especially for the sport of boxing, this fight needs to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it does. I think purely from an entertainment perspective, and even so, there has to be a lot more money on the line for this fight to happen.
$25 million isn't enough?
It's not for Floyd. Floyd talked about his last couple fights. He made, I think, $400 million after everything was said and done. And $25 million is not a little bit of money by any means. I'm sure Conor McGregor would be down for that, but for Floyd, like I said, I think there's too much pride on either end. I don't think that's going to happen because of that. And, that's just my thoughts. But if it ever did happen, I mean, it would probably be the most boring fight you've ever seen, because Floyd Mayweather is going to hit and run. And that's what Dana said. It's going to be the most boring fight you've ever seen.
Even more boring than even more boring than Pacquiao and Mayweather? Even more boring than that fight?
I don't know, honestly. I fell asleep in the second round.
Yeah, okay. All right. Hey, man, Zach, thanks for chiming in, brother. We really appreciate you stepping up, man. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
See you, Zach.
Thanks for having me. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
I mean, I think he may have made $400 million off his last fight, but after paying lawyers, baby mamas, his entourage,
Alimony.
lawyers, and I think Don King himself,
Only in America.
I think he probably came out with maybe about 20, maybe less than that.
Floyd needs this fight
Yeah, I think
more
he
than
does.
Conor
I think he
because,
does.
look, Floyd's last pay-per-view sold like 300 and some thousand pay-per-views. Conor sells 1.5 million pay-per-views. So who's the bigger draw from when it comes from the pay-per-view standpoint? It's Conor because who right now can Floyd fight that people would want to see and buy a pay-per-view?
Triple G.
And that's probably not going to happen. So that's basically it. That's his only shot. And he's probably not going to do it because he would have to move up in weight because Triple G's not probably dropping down to fight Floyd. So this is it for Floyd as far as a big payday. Conor's it for him. So, I still don't think it will happen. And I still think that Floyd would probably win, just basically what Zach said, because while Conor is a good boxer, he was an amateur boxer. So it would be the equivalent of putting an amateur boxer in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. And now, is he going to knock Conor out? No, because Floyd's a little guy. I mean, he's not big and he's knockout power. And Conor's been hit by guys, look, Nate Diaz can hit, and he didn't knock him out. So, I think that's probably how it would go. I think Floyd would probably touch him up. Conor would have some black eyes and everything. But as far as that goes, now I will say, if Conor connects, he can knock Floyd out. Conor, when he fights guys like the Eddie Alvarez fight, when he hit Eddie Alvarez, you saw in Eddie Alvarez's face, it was like, oh.
What did I just get hit by?
Exactly. So they say Conor's left hand, he puts guys to sleep. So if he would somehow manage to connect, which would be hard because Floyd is, again, he's a mover, he's a shaker, he's very defensive when it comes to that. But if Conor lands one, man, that could be all you wrote. So Floyd's got to look at it of, I want a whole lot of money because if he loses to Conor, his legacy, I mean, people are going to be like, dude, you lost to an MMA fighter in straight boxing, and their boxing is not good. MMA boxing and boxing is, MMA boxing is looked down upon by, real boxers.
Right.
Let me ask you guys a question. Now, going besides if Floyd needs this, which I think he does, don't you think the sport of boxing itself needs this? Because a lot of boxing fans are now MMA fans because it's a more exciting sport than just watching boxing like we all used to watch because there's no real big superstars anymore. So don't you think the sport of boxing needs a type of mega fight like this?
I will say they do, but the caveat in this is Floyd needs to win. Because think of it like this. If this pay-per-view was to ever happen, you're crossing two different things here. You're crossing MMA versus pure boxing. If Floyd loses to Conor McGregor, that's going to be it for the world of boxing. Everybody is going to go to MMA because of exactly what you said, Frank. You got knocked out by an amateur boxer. It's like remember the old school video game, Mike Tyson Punch-Out? It's like Little Mac beating up on Mike Tyson, okay? That's exactly what it's going to be like.
Not King Koopa? No, with the bandage in the middle?
Bandage in the middle.
I mean, look, boxing right now, I mean, I agree. They're pretty much like, look, I think there will always be boxing. I don't think it's going away per se, but those big fights like back in the 80s and 90s.
We don't see anymore.
Because guys don't want to fight each other anymore. Like Triple G and Canelo, that should have been the fight after Canelo, his last fight, and that still hasn't happened.
Right.
Floyd should have fought a lot of guys that he avoided.
Right.
Didn't do it. Andre Ward, Sergey Kovalev, that's been probably the biggest fight that's happened recently. I mean, and while, that's kind of like, it was a good fight. I mean, in Andre Ward, they have names. It's not what really everybody wants. Whereas in MMA, look, you're not ducking anybody. You're the best.
You're
fight,
doing it.
You're the best fight the best. And Dana's like, okay, you know what? You're 1, you're 2, you're 1, you're 5, whatever. You guys are getting in the ring.
I just think with the $25 million offer to begin with, I think with what they can promote this to,
Yep.
Especially with the pay-per-view incentives that they're all going to get. 25 is the start-off point to astronomical numbers they both can make off this fight. And for Mayweather just to kind of laugh it off and to kind of, throw insults to Dana White, you're stupid. Because the amount of money you're going to make off of promotion, marketing, and pay-per-view you're going to make you're probably going to make, 9 figures off of it?
Well, and Dana and Floyd, Dana came from the world of boxing. So him and Floyd do know each other from back in those days before Floyd was Floyd Mayweather Jr., so to speak. So they've always had that kind of a little back and forth kind of a relationship in that regard. But, I mean, look, I agree. I think it would sell. Conor McGregor is worldwide.
Right.
Floyd's basically United States.
That's it.
I mean, but Conor brings Europe and Ireland, and he's got a following, so
listen,
it
would be the international incident that the world has wanted to see and that we all will wait to pay for, because that's what's going to happen. Someone's going to throw a house party. That's going to be the only thing going on that night is the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight.
Bars are going to sign up to have it.
Everybody is going to benefit from this.
I think Mayweather's just kind of being kind of a pussy right now.
Well,
I think he is.
But think of it. But like I said, Frank, thank you. You hit the nail on the head. If Conor connects, and that's the thing I think that mentally is messing with Floyd Mayweather right now, because he knows. Listen, I've been able to shuck and jive 48, 49 other guys. My 50th fight, I lose to a guy who isn't even in my sport. He came from somewhere else, doesn't have the training or the mental knowledge or whatever that it takes to be a pure boxer. This guy is about kicking and taking people to the ground and choking them out. I'm about straight physicality. 1, 2, throw some gloves and let's go. If he beats me, number one, it's like no one cares about how undefeated you were. All they remember is that first loss. And if your first loss comes at the hand of somebody outside of what you are known for, he's done. It's over. And not only is he done, but I'm sorry, the sport of boxing is going to be that further down the totem pole when it comes to what people are wanting to watch.
I'm sorry, Eric. If I get knocked out, I'll wipe away the tears with hundreds and fifties.
Well, that's why Floyd's probably wanting that much money, because if he does lose, his legacy as greatest ever and everything, people are going to – it's like a couple years ago, James Lights Out Tony was pestering Dana White for a fight in the octagon. Not boxing. He wanted MMA.
That was ugly. That was an ugly fight.
And he said, and Randy Couture's like, you know what?
Let's go.
Hey, let's do it. Randy's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's lost like 10 fights. But again, UFC, I mean, you lose a lot more fights in MMA because
of course
there's more ways to lose. But Randy's like, yeah, man, let's do it. He went in, basically just double-legged him and just pounded him out. I mean, that was it. Tony didn't even throw a punch.
No.
I mean, it was just a beatdown because, again, it's a completely different animal. So to think that you can do it. Now, again, Conor actually, he was a boxer, albeit an amateur boxer, but he was a decorated amateur boxer. And I don't know, maybe he could have gone pro. I don't know, but, he went the MMA route and learned everything because, again, that's how the sport is going now. It would be entertainment. And look, UFC has new owners that just paid $4 billion. So anything they can do to bring in some revenue or money, if they need to put on a freak show fight or something to bring in some revenue to help cover that $4 billion note, they're probably going to do it.
Well, time will tell, and we shall see. Gentlemen, let's take a real quick break. When we come back, I want to get into football because, like I said, no one is happier than me right now. Frank, I know you're kind of 50-50 right now because one of your teams lost, the other one of your teams won. We'll get into that and much more. You're listening to us here, Whole Nother Level at Cowork Florida. 813-699-5353 is the number to call in. We're on iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker.com, Raw Talk Online, and as always, the website, www.hnl3.com. And welcome back to Whole Nother Level right here at Co-Work Florida. Again, 813-699-5353 is the number to call in. All right, let's get to it. I'm so happy right now. Green Bay Packers, I want to say thank you to that bad man that is Aaron Rodgers. More importantly, I want to show love to Mason Crosby. Thank you for not letting the Cowgirls ice you, proving that you can kick 250-yarders. Don't matter what time of day it is. Don't matter what you got. And big shout out to, yes, Aaron Rodgers. He went to Jared. Jared Cook for catching that 36-yard pass down the field, setting Green Bay up to kick the game-winning field goal to beat Dallas in Dallas and send them to the locker room. Mr. Discount double check himself, baby. He said 35 seconds to 2 timeouts. Watch what I can do. So, gentlemen.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
The press conference Rodgers had when they asked him, would that be go down as one of the best throws he's ever done? He's like, nah, not at all.
Very cool about it.
Very just nonchalant.
We got a caller on the phone. This is Whole Nother Level. Who we talking to?
This is Ben from Dallas.
Oh, look who it is. Ben from the BS3 Sports Show. I didn't know if I was going to hear from you, my brother. I was about to send the APB out on you. You okay? You all right, Ben? You okay?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
I'm good. I'm not using as many tissues right now, so I'm doing better.
Ben, you're not crying on your Emmitt Smith pillow, are you?
No.
All right. Ben, I want to try and be nice to you because, my brother, you are you're one of the few Cowboy fans out there, like I have said to you, that I actually do respect. So I'm not going to get on you too much. And I will start my conversation with you by saying this. You know what? You had a solid season. I will not say, like some people have said, it being a catastrophic failure. But what I will say to you, my brother, is it did my heart good to watch y'all lose. I'm going to leave it at that.
I know it did. There's so many Philly fans and so many Cowboys haters. You know, they were saving all of these memes and all of these notes in their notebooks, and then they put it out there on Sunday night. Everybody was ready. So I'll take it. But I would have to say, everybody out there that's saying that this was a failure is just plain stupid, because who expected them to make it this far anyway? Not very many Cowboys fans expected it. So to me, this was a successful season. You got a gem in Dak that you didn't even know you had. Imagine if he never even played. So this is you have a loss. You wanted to go further, but I think there's some bright spots and there's a bright future for this team as a whole.
Speaking of the future, Ben, what is next for the Cowboys? They're $24 million over with the cap space. Do you see them unloading Tony Romo to anybody? I know, Jerry and Tony have a long bromance going on for a long time, but do you see Romo going somewhere else in the offseason?
Definitely. I think he's gone. Good as gone. Because you're not going to pay him that much money to be the backup. He still thinks he can play. If you guys remember that sad press conference he had, he wants to play. I'm good with that.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you just say that press conference was sad?
Yeah, it was bad.
Okay, all right. I just want to hear that from a Cowboys fan, because I want to let you know something, Ben. And when I see you, you getting the biggest hug from me. And I don't hug Cowboy people, but you getting one from me, because you want to know why? I said the exact same thing. And everybody on our show, Whole Nother Level, they gave me so much flack for that press conference. And I was like, how are you intelligent gentlemen sitting up here gonna say that this was the press conference that needed to happen, and that someone had to say something, and Jerry didn't say nothing, and Steven didn't say nothing, and Jason Garrett didn't say nothing, so Tony had to go out and say something? And I'm like, y'all really gonna say that this was what needed to happen? That was, thank you. Go ahead.
It was sad, but I see two teams that he can go to. The Broncos the interesting thing, though, is that a lot of media, including myself, is saying he should go to the Broncos. But I haven't heard anything from the Broncos organization, not Elway, not even anybody in that organization. So, but John Elway likes old guys. He likes senior citizen quarterbacks. So this would be a perfect situation for him. The other one would be Houston, which I'm starting to think about that one more. They've got a weird situation with quarterbacks that they're trying to work out, and they've got a good defense. So who knows? But I think he's gone. He can't keep him as a backup. He's going to want too much money. I don't think he's going to restructure his contract either. So you got to make the move.
All right. So if you had your pick right now, where would you like him to go? Would you like him to go to Denver, or would you like him to go to Houston?
I would say Denver.
You're going to say Denver. So basically he might be able to do what Peyton Manning did in his last couple of years in Denver, get Denver to the postseason, and possibly Tony Romo do the one thing he has been dying to do his entire career, but he can't do it with Dallas.
Make it past the first round of the playoffs.
Get to the Super Bowl and rely on his defense to win him a championship, and he can be mediocre.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, all right.
I'm not a Cowboy. I'm not a Tony Romo praiser, but I don't hate on him either. But I want the guy to do whatever he wants to do, and what he wants to do is play. But I don't think he's going to win the Super Bowl with Denver. I don't think this is a Peyton Manning situation, because honestly, I don't think he's going to be healthy through the whole season. If he gets hit in the back the wrong way, it's going to be over. That small sample size, like I've been saying this on my show, that small sample size helps him out because you didn't see him get hurt, you didn't see him throw an interception, but it was not even half of a quarter. So that's the smallest sample size ever, but it looks positive for him.
Right. Well, he's going to make himself some money somewhere doing what he loves. And you know what? Forget about who he plays for or anything like that. As an athlete, the one thing I don't want to have happen is for him not to be able to live a full life outside of football. That's why I was saying, you know what, he should retire. He's made enough money. Let me ask you this. Do you think he could be like a quarterback coach or an offensive coordinator somewhere?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think he could do that. I mean, I think he could slide into that role for the Cowboys. I think he could. So yeah, if that's in his future. But there's and I don't know if you guys heard this, but there's an interesting fact that it's been said that he can't even sit down on the plane. Like, he has to stand up. He can only sit down for a certain amount of time because of his previous injuries, which to me is clearly a sign that I don't need to play anymore. When you can't sit down over a certain period of time, that's a fundamental problem. I mean, so he's got to make the decision, but if I was him, I would shut it down. I mean, you had a great career with the Cowboys. You got most of the records with the Cowboys, so I mean, don't risk your mobility just because you want to play again.
Damn, I didn't know that. You couldn't sit down at all.
I didn't know that
crazy.
either.
Ben, let me ask you a quick question. Do you think the spike when Dallas was on, I think it was the 40-yard line, that spike on 1st and 10, do you think that hurt them on that last drive to maybe possibly set up Green Bay for that drive? Do you think that spike hurt them?
I don't think so, because honestly, I was happy that he did it. I thought it was smart because you need it all the time you can get, especially in a game with the game on the line. I think you need it all the time. It did turn out to hurt him, because he gave too much time for the Packers. But I think in the moment, in that situation, I think they made the right choice.
There you go. Ben, my man, always a pleasure, man. We look forward to talking to you as time gets closer to the Super Bowl. Feel free to chime in anytime you want, my brother. Ben from the BS3 Sports Show, 1 p.m. Central Time. Check him out on Spreaker.com. Brother's got a really nice show going on, man. I've listened to you a couple of times, my brother. Y'all sound good over there in Texas.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And one other thing before you let me go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mayweather wants the biggest payday ever, and that's the reason why he's acting like a little girl, because he knows he knows if he accepts a payday that's not, I think he wants $100 million, I believe, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but his standards are so high. I don't think he's going to come back and fight. For a minute, I thought he was, but now the way he's acting, it's almost as if he has to fight some penny ante person so he can get to 50. But if he wants the biggest payday ever, this is the fight that he's going to have to do.
He's doing the same ducking and diving he did when they tried to get him and Pacquiao to fight the first 10 years of that showdown.
Right.
And look what happened after that. So if he was smart, I know he wants a huge payday. If he was smart, he would take this $25 million offer and see what they can get off of the pay-per-view and whatever, the sponsors they can get off of that. Because who knows what kind of money they can make off this fight.
Yeah, it would be enormous if they finally make it happen.
All right, my brother. Good talking to you as always, man. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
That was our man Ben from the BS3 Sports Show. Again, check him out 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on Spreaker.com. Saturdays, yes. So, Frank, you've been quiet over there, man, not talking about your Cowboys, man. I got to hear from you, man. I mean, what did you see in this game?
I mean, honestly, I could care less. I mean,
Okay.
I don't live there, so
I
mean, that's my whole tie to Dallas was. Look, what I saw from the game was a game that looked like it was going to be a blowout. I saw a lot of positive things. I mean, if I'm the Dallas organization, it's like, Dak didn't fold. Green Bay was running away with that game. And they hung in there. The defense actually, clamped down a little bit, later on. And, Dak and Zeke, and that offense, they kept going, just, basically kept chopping wood. Look, Mason Crosby, the value of kickers this year has probably been highlighted maybe even more so than in recent years with the rule change of, the extra points and a lot of just missed field goals. Teams that have lost games because of their kicker. So if you have a good one, and Green Bay does, Mason Crosby is, there's not many that could do that, that could make the 51-yarder. Look, there's not many that could do it once, let alone have to turn around and do it again and see that, riding down that goalpost. It's like, oh, man, he's either going to be the most popular guy on the plane or the guy that everybody's just like,
oh, come on, man.
Damn, kicker.
Well, here's the thing, though. The game would have went to overtime had he not made that. So there still would have been an opportunity for both teams.
Yes.
To win. So, but I agree with what you're saying.
Look, and I think Ben said it, I don't think anybody thought, look, I wouldn't have picked the Cowboys to go 13-3 if Romo played the whole season. I really wouldn't have done it if you told me that Romo won't play at all and a fourth-round rookie, Dak Prescott, is going to be, under center all, and I'd be like, they're going to go 13-3 with that, So, yeah, they're going to have to make some decisions, to get some cap space, but they have a lot of positives, including their second-round pick from last year, Jalen Smith, who was a 1-5 pick that they took in the second round because of his leg injury. Now, he didn't play at all this year, but so they basically, you could say they wasted the pick, but they got basically a number 1 draft pick for their next year.
Right.
And, considering how good they are, they're not going to get anybody better at the bottom of the first round, which is, they're going to be in the bottom half of the draft. So they've got some positives going forward, but they're going to have to make some decisions, and maybe somebody else, to go with Dez Bryant. I'm saying somebody, not that they don't have guys, I'm saying somebody else besides Terrence Williams and Cole Beasley. Somebody that teams are actually, going to game plan for or look at and be like, all right, if we double team Dez, then, we got to worry about
this guy.
Yes.
No, you're absolutely right. But let's talk about the Packers now, okay? I said when Wild Card Weekend started, I said whoever wins between the Giants and the Packers was going to the Super Bowl. So I'm riding this all the way through.
You did.
Actually, I think we're all trying to ride that through the Super Bowl so we can get a huge crowd at Old School.
Well, we are.
Yeah.
But
that's what we really want.
Yeah.
But, and we'll touch more on this Sunday at Old School where we're going to be at for Conference Championship Weekend. But I have to ask you gentlemen this simple question. Aaron Rodgers, is he now undisputedly the MVP of the league this year?
I'm gonna say he's got my vote.
Okay.
Because I think we were all out on the Packers midway through the season when they were 4-6.
Well,
we all counted them out.
Frank was done with them after week 12.
So to take his team and to bring him where they're at right now, he certainly has my vote. And the way he's played throughout the playoffs right now, you can put him over Tom Brady as the MVP. Because the way he played against Dallas was nothing short of the GOAT.
Okay.
So he's got my vote for MVP.
Frank?
I'm rolling with the Atlanta quarterback.
That guy.
That guy. I'm rolling with Matt Ryan. Look, I think considering that he was on the downhill decline, I mean, he had been declining over previous years to where we were even talking about, should Atlanta just move on from Matt Ryan?
Yep.
Is the Matt Ryan era over and Atlanta cut bait and just draft a new one and start over? So for him to do what he did and to get Atlanta, I mean, NFC Championship game, I wouldn't have, Atlanta would not have been anywhere close to my list of teams that could make that. And look, I gotta show some love to Mike McCarthy because I think, they're about to run him out of, thinking about running him.
He was on the hot seat. Oh, yeah.
Running him out of town. And if you look, he's made the playoffs, I think, every year that he's been there. And not just the playoffs, he's actually at least won a game in advance. So, I mean, his record and his credentials, even if he didn't get to this point, he's shown, but, being 4-6, when you have expectations, people get cranky and this and that. So to see whatever it is that he did, with whatever adjustments or something, I mean, it's been a unique turnaround, I guess, because I was done with him. I mean, I wrote him off after some of those losses. I was like, man, you guys ain't. I mean, you can't even beat the Titans. I mean, come on.
I think what they did uniquely with Ty Montgomery to place him as a running back, that has been a really turning point for that offense because now they have a weapon they can put as a running back and also as a slot receiver because now we don't know if Jordy Nelson's going to start on Sunday. He's questionable right now. I mean, do they wrap him up? Do they shoot him with some cortisone? What do you do? And they've shown they can beat teams without Jordy Nelson. And he's one of those factors. So with what they've been doing with him, I mean, with these two teams showing up and what Matt Ryan's been doing with all the weapons he has now, with guys like Gabriel and Sanu, I mean, he doesn't even have to throw to Julio as much as he used to.
Listen, I said it on Sunday. I said I actually have to give them some credit. They were a team that I was still like, I don't care what they do. They're not going to make it. They're not going to show up. I fully expected Seattle to come in there and the Legion of Boom just stomp the dog snot out of them. I was wrong.
Legion of Squeak, by the way.
I know, we've changed
Legion
the
of
name.
Squeak.
But they proved me wrong. They have shut me up, and I have nothing but positive things to say about them. I am so looking forward to this matchup on Sunday. It's going to be a shootout. I mean, the over-under right now is 60.5, and I'm taking the over because both the defenses, in my opinion, are still suspect.
Yeah.
So I fully expect Matt Ryan to pick apart Clay Matthews and the rest of those boys on Green Bay. And on the flip side, I fully expect Aaron Rodgers to do the same to Vic Beasley Jr. and that Atlanta defense. I don't know if it's going to come down to a kick. I think it's going to come down to a Hail Mary because we didn't see it in Dallas. I'm thinking
I was
may
waiting
see
on
it
it in Dallas. I was waiting on it so
I was
bad.
thinking I think we may see it in Atlanta. Go ahead.
Speaking of Clay Matthews, I think he's still looking for his ankles. Did you see the move that Zeke put on him?
I did see that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him. It's like, dude, you're going to get – that's going to be on the highlights.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's still looking for his ankles back in Dallas.
Speaking of the Legion of Squeak, with Earl Thomas being in and out of the lineup so much, what changes do you think the Seahawks need to make in order for them to right the ship? Aside from the fact that they need to build their offensive line because Russell Wilson is not going to be durable for as long as people think he's going to be. This offensive line has broken down so many times on him.
Yeah, Seattle is not invested in their offensive line at all. There's not a first-round pick on that offensive line. I think the highest pick is a second, and then you've got like three guys that I think that are undrafted, a seventh-rounder. I mean, for your offensive line to not even have one first-round pick, I mean, it's almost negligent or criminal when you got a quarterback like Russell Wilson. But, yeah, that's what they need to do. Look, Earl Thomas covers a multitude of mistakes in that Seattle secondary. So with him not being there, I think, look, them getting him back, and if they keep that group together, maybe do something with the pass rush. But again, that's not how they're built. They're built from the back to the front.
Right.
And with Earl Thomas back, that's a different defense. So they need to get some more points, and you need to protect Russell Wilson, and you need a real running back. I mean, look, I know what Thomas Rawls. You need. I'm not saying Marshawn Lynch, but I mean this draft coming up, it's full of them. I mean, it's loaded with there's about 9 really good running backs that are, if you look at the top 9, there's 9 pretty good ones there. So you need to work on your offensive line and get some weapons for Russell Wilson. And look, in that division that you're in, you'll still be sitting at the top.
Yeah, they need to do something on wide receiver, too. I mean, Baldwin was underutilized. I think, Jimmy Graham scored his first touchdown in, a month or two? So they need to get something together. And what you said about the running back situation, they haven't really had a clear number 1 running back all season with that whole carousel with Rawls, and even Christine Michael, who was on the team earlier this season before they let him go. So they need to going with their defense, what happened? I mean, this was one of the most feared defenses for the past couple of years, and now all of a sudden – I mean, granted, they're probably one of the weakest divisions in the league right now, but this team is so beatable. Like teams,
Tampa beat them and held them to 5
my Tampa
points.
Bay Buccaneers beat
That's
them.
all you need to know about the Seattle Seahawks this year. Tampa Bay held them to 5 points.
Prediction: Pete Carroll will not be the coach of the Seahawks in 2 years. Prediction.
You think so?
I think so. I think he's going to be out
unless he fixes it next year.
Unless he fixes it next year.
I think. I could see the offensive coordinator being let go, Darrell Bevell, because he's been there the whole time with Pete. And look, say what you want about that Super Bowl call there, but I mean, again, Darrell Bevell, and then just not being able to utilize Jimmy Graham and just a lack of offensive creativity. I think that's going to catch up with him. I think Pete is solid. I don't see him going anywhere in that regard, but I could see you need an offensive coordinator that, that can find a way to get Jimmy Graham in there. I mean, and utilize him, because you've got a real weapon there at the tight end spot. But again, that offensive line, because Jimmy Graham doesn't block. So you're losing out on a little bit of extra blocking, if you will, for Russell Wilson.
So let me ask you gentlemen a question. Speaking of offensive coordinators, Chip Kelly has been offered a position to be the offensive coordinator in Jacksonville. What if he turns it down and decides to go work with Pete Carroll? Let me ask you gentlemen that. What do you think?
I don't think Pete would bring him.
He wouldn't entertain it?
I don't think he would, no.
Okay.
No,
all right.
I think for the job that he's going to interview for, I think Jacksonville would be a good spot for Chip, because now you can work with Blake Bortles and maybe try and bring him back to a somewhat salvageable quarterback, because – as a head coach, we all know he's garbage. I mean, let's just say this past year wasn't his fault this time because he came into a bad situation. But I think if you put him as an OC, where I think he'd be more comfortable, where he wouldn't have to answer to a GM and have everybody on his back about it, I think this would be good for him, just to kind of take a step back and go back to his offensive roots.
Okay. I had to ask that question. All right, let's take a real quick break. When we come back, I want to touch on Frank's Pittsburgh Steelers. More importantly, I want to talk about Mr. 84 and some of the decisions he's made. I got to get your opinion on it.
I know.
Dumbass.
You're listening to us. Home Law Level here live at Cowork, Florida. 813-699-5353 is the number.
So there are consequences to be dealt with from his perspective. We will punish him. We won't punish us. And we'll do so swiftly, and we'll do so internally. And I'll imagine that there are consequences associated with the National Football League's policy in that regard. I'm sure that he'll appropriately absorb all of those things and as he moves forward. But larger than that, he's got to grow from this. He has to. He works extremely hard. He's extremely talented. And those things get minimized with incidences such as this. You wear on your teammates when they have to routinely answer questions about things that aren't preparation or football related. It's our desire for him and everyone to be great teammates as well as great players. And he's a great player. He's a hard-working player. He's respected largely in the locker room for those things. But incidences such as this, don't help him in that regard, and that's just the reality of it. In a nutshell, that's going to be the gist of the conversation that we have. And the reality is that those things that don't apply exclusively to Antonio. It's a global thing in regards to professional sport. I think that's oftentimes why you see great players move around from team to team. And I definitely don't want that to be his story. I'm sure he doesn't want that to be his story. So he has to address these things.
And welcome back to Whole Nother Level right here at Cowork Florida. What you were listening to was Mike Tomlin addressing what went down in the locker room after their victory against the Kansas City Chiefs. More importantly, speaking to one Mr. Antonio Brown and how his actions were having a direct effect not only on himself but on the entire team, the organization, and Mike Tomlin speaking directly to what went down and how it was going to be handled. 813-699-5353 is the number to call in. So, Frank, I want to talk to you about this because I know you are a Steelers fan, and it's playoff time, baby, so I know something like this when it happens. As a fan, how do you feel?
Oh, I hate it. Evan said it best before going to break. Dumbass. I mean, that's all. I couldn't even wrap my head around it. I just kept going, really? Look, I'm sure this kind of talk goes on all the time. I mean, and he wasn't calling New England like directly assholes from that standpoint. I think it was more of, indirect, just,
It's the next team.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Not making it personal, just, indirect that's, fire up the guys, this and that. I'm sure that probably, you could probably find that in a whole lot of locker rooms.
Of course.
With that, when guys aren't Facebook Living their coach. I mean, what if he'd have went into some game preparation or something for the Patriots? I mean, would he have stopped it then? This is what we're going to do, next week in New England. You can't keep off Facebook Live for, I can't imagine that Mike Tomlin talked for very long, during that speech. You couldn't wait. Or at least just maybe real quick after the game, like, hey, coach is about to talk. I got to go. You don't know what he's going to say. That's you hear him speaking back there. Facebook Live just, it needs to go down. Because and I know Belichick responded. He's like, I don't understand that Insta chat or Snap face.
Snap face.
Yeah.
You face.
But you better believe that's probably in every New England player knows it. It's probably in everybody's locker room. He probably recorded it and gave everybody a little, recording of it in their locker. He's going to remind them of that. So, like they needed anything else to fire him up or give them, especially when Tomlin's talking about, don't give him anything, don't let them see us coming, blah, 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 and then you give them something and let them see you coming.
And that's what I'm glad that you brought that up, Frank, because he was even talking about lay off the Facebook, lay off the, he was even talking about it when Antonio Brown was even filming. And, this brings a level of unwanted attention now. You're preparing for the AFC Championship game.
Yep.
You don't want this kind of attention, especially this when you have an inside look of the locker room, which NFL teams hold sacred.
Yeah.
They don't want any kind of cameras being inside the locker room, especially for, post-game speeches, which we hardly get to see unless it's a real uplifting one. Especially, and I just don't understand players when they just do dumbass things like this. It's now Antonio Brown's now dumbass of the month because of this.
Well, him and D'Angelo Russell for the Lakers.
Yeah.
This is the. Recording him, and granted that was in a hotel room or whatever, but it ranks right up there. They might do a commercial together.
Here's the one thing I'm surprised neither one of you said. Forget about the fact that he posted it on Facebook Live.
Then deleted.
You didn't score.
Yeah.
No, the Steelers didn't score. If it was not for give me the field goal kicker.
Boswell.
Chris Boswell.
If it wasn't for him.
Oh, I was going to get. I thought we were just talking about.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay, no,
all right.
no. I got a lot to say about that game.
Ladies and gentlemen, the factual Frank.
Look, the only good thing, the only thing I'm happy about that game basically is that they won. I mean, the only time 6 field goals is acceptable is if you kick 6 field goals and you win the Super Bowl. If that's how you win the Super Bowl, hey, you won it, so be it. Anything else, 6 field goals, I mean, look, that game should have been a blowout. They should have been up 28-7, like, from the beginning. And then that puts Kansas City in the hole. Then Alex Smith has to, they got to push the ball, although Andy Reid would probably still think he has a whole lot of time with his time management. But, look, you had the ball on the 5-yard line, and you don't give it to Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell was basically doing whatever he wanted that game. I mean, 170 yards rushing. I mean, they could not stop him, and you're going to throw the ball. I mean, now granted, Antonio Brown got stripped in the end zone. I mean, that would have been a touchdown. But it was aggravating all the way around. I mean, look, Kansas City's defense didn't lose that game for them. I mean, they did them. I mean, look, they can hold their heads up high. Kansas City's offense is, again, sense of urgency, sense of attacking.
I'm really surprised. There was 2 times where Tyreek Hill was open twice.
Yeah,
and Smith didn't even look at him.
You got
that could have tied up the score. That could have been the game for the Chiefs right there.
Yeah, I mean, you got that game should have never been that close.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Pittsburgh they should have scored way more than what they did. Like I said, that game should have been 28-7 at halftime, easily. But yeah, that was just and Ben, 224 yards. I mean, look, he overthrew Antonio. He threw some bad throws to Antonio Brown. Like, those two weren't even on the same, like, looking at the same playbook.
Oh, Antonio was on his Facebook. That's why.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean.
But he was smiling, and I'm like, you didn't even score.
I don't. Okay, what in reality, what punishment is he really going to get?
He's going to get a fine.
Okay.
Because what Tomlin did say,
a slap on the wrist.
If you listen to the rest of that conversation, what Tomlin said was he will be punished internally. That's how we're going to handle it. We are going to punish him, not us. And basically, and to Ryan Clark's credit, what Ryan Clark said was what that basically means is he's going to get talked to. We are going to handle this. We are going to move on. But we are not going to remove him from playing against the New England Patriots because
why would you?
Because that, what? There are people who feel like that should happen.
Although they're dumbasses.
Forget New England fans. Collectively, if you do something that violates NFL policy, not only Steeler organization policy, but if it affects NFL policy, should there not be some type of suspension? Okay, there should be. But that's why Mike Tomlin came out and specifically said, we are going to punish him, not us, because we want to be in the best position to win. We've already given New England ammunition.
Yep.
The one thing we specifically do not want to do going into Foxborough, the AFC Championship game, Pittsburgh against New England, the one thing you don't do is give them ammunition. And like you said, Bill Belichick, forget about knowing Insta chat or Snap Face or Face Twitter or whatever. He did that.
Yep.
He posted that in his Monday morning conference. I want y'all to see how the other team feels about us right now. You don't need to motivate Tom Brady. But Deion Lewis and LeGarrette Blount and Chris Hogan and Amendola and everybody else in that New England Patriots squad, they just got a little more pissed off because of what Antonio Brown did.
You don't think that defense doesn't want a shot on Antonio Brown?
Oh, believe me, Devin McCourty wants to they want to pick six him all day long. Whoever's covering Antonio Brown, I'm telling you right now, is probably going to, and I don't wish this, but they're going to headhunt him. And they're going to step on him and remind him, keep talking about us and watch what happens.
Look, they ain't going to want to do that. They ain't going to want to cover him. But I think if they get the chance to take their shots,
oh, yeah.
You know it's coming.
Oh, they're going to take it.
Look, Shutting Antonio Brown down is even though he didn't score, he still had 108 yards. So you may again contain him a little bit, but
now they amped up. Now the New England defense is amped up, and they're gonna give it a little extra.
Wow, I'd hope they'd be amped up because it's the AFC Championship.
They
game.
are, but they're about to be on a whole nother level because of what he did. That's what I'm saying to
Listen,
you.
I'm a superstitious guy. I think Antonio Brown, and sorry, Frank, I think he just screwed the Steelers by doing that.
I don't think so.
I think you just messed up the juju of the team.
I don't think
going
so.
in the Foxborough.
Because I think what he's going to do after he has his conversation with Tomlin,
he needs to come out and ball.
That's what I'm saying to you. He's going to come out and shut this whole thing down. He going to come out there and be the Antonio Brown that we know him to be, the Antonio Brown that gets picked number 1 in fantasy drafts year over year. He's going to be the guy. Forget the Pepsi commercials. Forget about everything else. Forget about Dancing with the Stars. We are going to see Antonio Brown, the football player, come Sunday against New England.
Because if he has a bad game, it's going to be just like Odell going to Miami.
Exactly.
If Antonio Brown has a bad day and a bad game, what the questions are going to be after the game. So did your Facebook Live have anything to do with the Steelers losing?
You damn right.
I mean, whether it did or didn't, that's what's coming. And especially if you have a bad game and don't show up after that nonsense. So you better come to play.
Let me ask you this question. Let's say, for argument's sake, and we'll break the game down more on Sunday at Old School, where we're going to be at. We're starting at 2 o'clock, people. It's going to be an hour show because we got 2 games to break down. 1991 Main Street, beautiful downtown Sarasota, right next to the Hollywood 20. Make sure y'all get there because you do not want to miss Conference Championship Week with whole nother level. But, gentlemen, you talk about balling out. So let me say this to you. Let's say Antonio Brown gets over 170 yards. He gets 1 or 2 touchdowns.
He won't.
Hypothetically.
He won't.
And let's say Pittsburgh still loses, but he did show up to play. Will that question be asked, number 1, and number 2, will it have any merit based on his performance?
If he balls out like that, no. Of course not.
Okay.
But he won't.
You're saying he's not going to?
Just like I said, Martellus Bennett won't get 50 yards. Antonio Brown's not going to get that. He's not going to get 170.
All right, we'll talk more about it on
70
Sunday.
yards, 1 touchdown.
But I'm asking the question right now.
Antonio may not, but Mike Tomlin will get that question. If Pittsburgh loses, they're going to ask him. You know somebody's going to ask him, Coach, do you think that the Facebook Live with Antonio had anything to do with, because that's just, it's what reporters do. You know somebody will ask it.
Okay.
But, yeah, if you're going to do something stupid or, like, if you run your mouth, you better at least come out and show up. Okay, your team may lose, but if if you went nuts, at least you can say, man, I showed up.
I left everything on the field.
Yep.
Okay. All right, and that was the question I wanted to ask. Now, I want to flip it to the other team, the team that lost by Chris Boswell's field goal kicking abilities, apparently. Was Travis Kelce wrong? I want to ask y'all gentlemen that question. Was he wrong? Frank?
Well, he was wrong on his he cost his team that game in a lot of ways, too.
Holding on him.
His pushing, where he just, the play was like way over, and he just walked up, unsportsmanlike. That helped, that helped Pittsburgh in that regard. And he had some drops, too. So Travis Kelce didn't come to play. So I don't really want to hear anything from him in that regard because I want to hear from somebody that actually showed up and, and did something, which wasn't a whole lot of guys from Kansas City that did. But was it the correct call? And I've heard people say this. Technically, yes. Do I want to see that called on something that's going to decide the game? I mean, that would have sent it at least to overtime. So it doesn't mean that the game that Pittsburgh still didn't have a chance to win, and that's what's disappointing. I would have liked to have seen it go to overtime. But James Harrison, you can say he's old or whatever. That's who Travis Kelce needs. He called him old man or something in his thing. James Harrison's not a hard guy to find. You got a problem with him, you take it up with him. But as big as Eric Fisher is, I mean, that's basically the only way that he was keeping James Harrison, because if he didn't, James Harrison was probably going to light up Alex Smith, and that ball is probably going to come out, or at the very least, it's a sack.
Okay. Great L. Bushman?
I think what he should have done instead of doing that epic rant about, the refs, shouldn't even wear like zebra stripes working at Foot Locker. He should have just kind of owned up to it. Be like, yeah, I did a couple things that hurt the team, but him to really discourage, what the word I'm looking for is to really downplay what the refs were doing, saying they screwed up this call, saying that you lost. You should have just manned up and instead of being that little kid that got his toys kicked over in the sandbox. You didn't play your best, so you have no right to even criticize the refs. So he shouldn't have gone on an epic rant like that. No.
Okay. I just had to ask because I'm watching this whole thing, and for a guy who, for most of the season, really appeared to be a guy who, I'll say he was
as tight ends. You could put him as the top tier with him and Gronkowski.
Yeah,
him.
You really could. And the showing that he did, being there at key pivotal moments and being the guy that really escalated, the level of play from Alex Smith to Travis Kelce. Forget about Spencer Ware, Sharkhandrick West, Jamal Charles, or anybody else. That was the 1-2 combination that defenses were afraid of.
He's their best pass catcher.
He is.
I mean, he's their best option in that regard. I mean, they don't really have any wide receivers. I mean, I think Macklin's been stealing money, but I mean, beyond him, I don't think anybody could name Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers.
I really can't.
I got nothing.
I got nothing. I mean, I'm sure they have some, but
I got Jeremy Maclin. That's about it.
He didn't do anything all season.
And he didn't. But that was my point. I agree with you. For him to go out this way is going to leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And if you're Kansas City, you might want to consider this guy has one or two character flaws, in my opinion. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, it's the emotion of the game. It's a playoff game. You got to take everything into consideration. I get that. But again, you didn't show up your damn self. So I agree with you, Great L. Bushman. You know what? Own your mistakes and say, had I not done what I did, we might have been in a better position. I don't agree with the call, but I think that more importantly, there were some unnecessary things that were done by a whole, and some were by me, that cost us that game.
Listen, we've seen a lot of bad calls throughout the whole season.
Yep.
And we've seen players call refs out all season like Kelce did. But when you're calling a ref out and I'm agreeing with you, Frank, it was a good penalty. It was a good call. It was a good call. But if you don't show up, if you would have showed up and played a game and actually wouldn't have made stupid mistakes like you did and maybe scored a touchdown here and there and had a good game, then you can go off on an epic rant. You have every right to do that. But when you didn't even show up and play the best that you did, and he didn't play the best that he did, you have no right to have any kind of rant at all. His press conference should have been, I didn't play my best. The refs didn't do anything wrong. There's always next year.
Stupid penalty on my part. Yep. Look, I thought he should have got I mean, of course, looking at it from the Pittsburgh side, I'd have tossed him. I mean, if I was a ref with that, just the walk up and, because it was basically just like almost like hitting him. I mean, granted, he didn't. It was a push, but it was it
was blatant.
Exactly. And it wasn't a flop.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, you just walked up. I mean, I don't know how he didn't get tossed, but yeah, if you're going to run your mouth, you better have at least played.
You better should have done something. All right, gentlemen. Well, that's going to take us out of here for tonight. I want to thank y'all. We're going to see y'all again Sunday, 1991 Main Street, beautiful downtown Sarasota, right next to the Hollywood 20, old school bar and grill. Show starts at 2 p.m. We're giving you 1 hour, leading you right up to
I might dress up in Packers gear this Sunday. I might.
Uh-oh.
I might wear a Rodgers jersey. You never know.
Uh-oh. I'm sure Tabitha will let you borrow one. I'm sure she's got plenty of them.
Yeah, it's too small of me.
Okay. I'm just saying.
In the chest area, I'm kind of small.
You wear extra medium.
Yes.
But we're getting you set up for Green Bay versus Atlanta and then Pittsburgh versus New England. And then there were 4. From there, we're going to the final 2 who are going to the dance. So, for the Factual Frank Mazzei and the Great L. Bushman, this is your man, Eric. And until Sunday, we have taken you to a whole nother level. We'll see you next time.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.